wow.
Okay, so glucose syrup and then wheat flour.
Glucose is probably another word for sugar.
It's called is that black liquid? Huh?
Yeah,
I didn't. I got it.
It's not real. That's why I was giving it out.
Right. Okay. Well, very, very lot to do, Baruch Hashem. I've got another minute. Anybody want to say something interesting? Some news?
I'm waiting for your jokes.
Well, I've finished my jokes. I told you two already.
We're all joked out.
It was joked out. It's not Shushapu, it's past last.
Yeah, but it's still middle of the sewer.
Hasidim are still wearing
now
tissue on that.
Still half.
Hey, the Belzebub told us Hasidim to wear white socks across the world.
Which one?
Why?
Belzum.
Is that what they're all wearing? She's not dancing again.
After a while.
We were dancing yesterday.
Yeah, that was on Friday. Put them on a tissue. The tissue will get stuck.
Nah. Yeah.
No, nobody's got a good joke. What's the news? Any people died today? Do you know? Anybody knows? How many?
190 or something. And the least ever.
Oh, the least ever.
No, since July.
They're manipulating the figures. They're manipulating the figures. There's a joke.
Are you allowed to go to Lake District for a walk now?
Yes.
I went to Blackpool today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So,
And then what's the question whether you're allowed to? So.
Boris Johnson was caught cycling 7 miles away from his house.
Maybe he cycled 7 miles.
You can do what you want.
And go what you want.
Exercise.
Depends who
you know.
Take your front door with you.
Why?
Wasn't it the whole thing? Take your front door with you. You only have 1 mile from your front door.
I felt it was like criminal. I didn't like the idea. There was so many people. The first night pouring, every second person I met was a policeman. I know, but why so many police? I felt like I was.
It's very good for 2 reasons. Number one, as I said to one of the shop members, it's amazing to know because next time someone comes to show on the robbery, they're going to be there within a second.
You wish. It's rubbish.
I said, now we know they have such resources. They're going to be, we know what to expect.
I had a break-in, called the police, 999, 8 hours for them to come. In my house. The guy came into my house.
You should have called them back 5 days to say, don't worry.
I did a big
No, it was about 2 years ago.
I've got 4 people here from a party. I've got Corona.
Well, actually, yeah, further up had a robbery. Actually, don't.
Within 2 minutes, there were 30 officers there. All you have to next time it happen, within a minute, just say the guy's not wearing a mask.
I don't know. Okay. So like Tessa would have 3 lines from the top. The Mishnah talks about a case where there are 2 people and each person decided to eat the Korban Pesach entirely on his own. Imagine 2 people, me and Chaim, we decide to eat the Korban Pesach. I'm eating this Korban Pesach. He says in that Korban Pesach entirely on our own. We have no intention of sharing anybody else. And then the Korban Pesach, the Pesachim get mixed up. So now, normally, if we were to be part of a group, it would be much more simple. What would we do? We would swap one person from one group, one person to another group. And then what we would do is, we would say, if you're from the original group, so this is your Korban Pesach. If it's not from the original group, so now we're joining onto yours from another group. When the Mishnah, we talk about 2 individuals, take Korban Pesach alone, it gets more complicated. It says more. The 4th line down, this is the Rabbi Yehuda the Tanya. Beis, Mise, Melamed, Mismatin, V'holchim. You're allowed to come off the group. You have to have one of the original people. Now in our Mishnah it says if one person's on one group, one person on the other group, and they got mixed up, each person invites another person, and then each one invites me from the marketplace. And then, let's example, me and Chaim, we each chose to come Pesach. We got mixed up. I invite Ben, Chaim invites Moshe. And then what happens is, and then he's on your group and he's on my group. And then what happens is we swap these people around. Then I say, if it was originally mine, it's very good. I'm allowing him to join into mine. If it was originally mine, and therefore it was originally yours, so therefore you originally invited Moshe. But now he's on my group, so therefore he's as part. I'm joining onto him.
There's no problem with that.
What?
When they got lost,
Yes.
Reason of the extras,
Oh, that's exactly what the was asking. That's exactly what the was asking. Now, Rabbi Yehuda holds, says Rashi. Rashi's bedaik. The Rabbi Yehuda holds it has to be from the beginning. That you have to be one of the original group from the beginning. Yeah, because always by the time of Shechita, you're going to be part of the group. Otherwise, well, so it has to be something of the group. Rabbi Yossi holds it doesn't matter if you're not the original group. Our Mishnah seems to say that Rabbi Yossi, it doesn't matter because over here it could very well be none of the original group. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda has another shitta. You can't shecht Korban Pesach on one individual. You already can't shecht the Korban Pesach for one individual. Since you can't shecht the Korban Pesach for one individual, so therefore you're forced to do what? To add somebody else. So therefore, even though you haven't yet added someone else, when you do, it's as if he's part of the original group. So therefore, when we each add one person, it's as if he was part of the original group, and therefore it's okay. Omar Rashi, Maslisinami Dekes Muvdurek from our Mishnah that we're going Dafka B'Shittas Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Diktoni V'chei Chamish Chabur Shel Chamisha Chamisha. 5 groups, and each one had 5. If you remember yesterday, very, very briefly. 5 groups, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. Each one had the Korban Pesach. And all the Korban Pesach got mixed up. We don't know which one it belongs to. So what we do is we take one from every group. And then we say, if it was from group 1, the one from group 1, he's inviting everybody else to join him. If it was from group 2, the one from group 2 is inviting everybody to join him. So we make 5 groups of 5. Each one takes one from each group. And each one makes a complicated nusach. Each one stand up and say the whole nusach. And you have to say it 25 times if you work it out. Because the first group, each one says, if it's mine, so I'm inviting everybody to join. And the group will say, well, and that's how you do all of them. Now, why are we talking about a case of 5 times 5? I think somebody asked this yesterday. Why? What about if one of them is a 4? One of them asked if one of the groups is a 4? What happens if one of the groups is a 4? Oh, so the problem is, so the solution would be that group of 4 should invite someone else. But the answer is it doesn't work because they weren't part of the original group. And here you cannot answer like we answered before, that when you have one person, so automatically you need to invite someone else. So therefore, it's as if it's part of the original group. Because here you've got 4 original ones. So therefore, you don't need to invite an extra one. And if you do invite one of the extra ones, and it ends up being he's none of the people from the original group, so it won't work. What? Yes. You can add, but you can't make, once you made a group, then you add someone else. You can't then take everybody off and keep only the person you added. The reason being, since you set it up as one group and then you've added somebody else, this person you've added wasn't part of the original group. And if according to Rabbi Yehuda, he can't be anymore the sole member of the group. So let's say we choose a Korban Pesach together, and then we add somebody. And then we all decide to clear off and only leave him. That we can't do. So over here, if there's 5 groups of 5, that's fine. If there's 4 groups of 5 or 1 group of 4, that group can no longer add someone. Because if we add someone, and then afterwards it could be that it belonged to him, and he will going to leave him to be that doesn't work. That's right. Otherwise, because it says 5 groups, each one only has 4, and each one invites an extra 5th. There are 4 groups of 5. 1 of 4, it doesn't work. There's nobody left from the original group because you're going to add somebody to make it 5 in order to distribute in there 5 groups, each one have 5, and it could very well be that one of the people of the 5 will end up with nobody, and therefore that's no good. We finish the Pesach. We to finish the halachas of Hilchas Pesach Sheni, which. Well, I don't say hopefully because we said if a Shach comes between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, no, we'll hopefully have Pesach Rishon. You're allowed to be Pesach Rishon with Tumah, not?
Yeah, that's what everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone will probably anyway be.
Oh.
Get
what?
Comes today.
Oh.
Have you bought your sheep yet?
It's the 10th.
Tomorrow, I'll bring my sheep.
I don't use my bubble yet.
We're up to our 10th and last perek. This perek has more halacha l'maisa than I think any other perek in Shas. I don't know of any other which has as much halacha l'maisa. And it's got a very lot of differences to other prokim. First of all, the Tosfos which is written on our Pesachim is a Tosfos b'nu peretz. It's not the standard Tosfos. It's much, much longer and much more halachic. That's one difference. The normal Tosfos is actually printed all the way in the Modcha. This Tosfos is a different kind of Tosfos. Second of all, so we'll try and do as much Tosfos as we can. Second of all, there's a Rashbam and Rashi. The Rashbam was a grandson of Rashi. It was his daughter's son. Because Rashi never had any sons. Rashi had 3 daughters. So the Rashbam was his grandson. The Rashbam is much lengthier. Because we've got Rashbam and Rashi, what happens is we tend to find that the dafim are much shorter because of the fact that we've got a lot more pirush on the page. Tosfos almost always tackles the Rashbam, not Rashi, which shows us that already a long time ago they were dealt on this perek with the Rashbam, not Rashi. If we look at Tosfos, keep throwing to Rashbam, not Rashi. There is a slight technical problem, and that is we're going to have some very short dafim. And there's a question to whether the fact that Baruch Hashem we're all sitting and learning for a certain amount of time, whether it's kedai to make that time, fill up the time with more halachas, or to make the shir shorter. It's going to have to be a balance between the two, because either extreme is never good, even though one could argue about it. We don't want to make a shir just 10 minutes quarter of an hour. On the other hand, we don't want to drag out time for anything. We will be doing Tosfos, and any halacha l'maisa we'll try our best to do. Says the Mishnah, Beis Avei Pesachim. Tosfos already talks about the fact that first Tosfos is the Erev Pesachim, Avei Pesachim. Either way, it's the plural. Samuch lemincha. Samuch lemincha means close to mincha, half an hour before mincha. There are 2 minchas, mincha gedola and mincha ketana. Mincha gedola is when? 12:30. Very good. It's one of these tricky ones. How to remember? Gedola means there's a lot of time left for the day. Ketana is when? When's mincha ketana? 9.5 hours after the day, 3:30 in your day. You said 12:30, so you're taking a day from 6 till 6. So 3:30 would be mincha ketana. So therefore, samuch lemincha is half an hour before mincha is how long? Either 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock. A person is not allowed to eat until it is dark. The reason is, the Rashbam says, because hidul mitzvah is to eat the matzah with an appetite. If you eat a matzah when you've got no appetite, it's a lacking in the mitzvah. It's very interesting. What is the mitzvah? The mitzvah is eating. When you're eating with enthusiasm, that's a hidul mitzvah. When you're eating and you can't really be bothered, there's a lack of enthusiasm. In fact, the Ran argues with the Rashbam. He says there's no hidul mitzvah to eat with an appetite. He says the problem is you might eat achila gasa. And he brings from Rabbi David, one of the Rishonim, which is a very interesting idea. I must say it's the first time I think I've ever seen it. Was that what's achila gasa mean, by the way? Overeating. Why is it called achila gasa? So I thought, like you said, gasol for like a fat animal or something. He uses the word gasa comes from the word goises, somebody on his death throes. That when you're eating and eating, you can't eat anymore, you're choking yourself. That's what he says. Either way, either not to be achila gasa. And halacha is if you do eat matzah achila gasa, you have not been yotza your achilas matzah. If you eat matzah when you're stuffed, you're not yotza the mitzvah. So we've got Bachlis to show you why. Now, Tosfos is a famous Tosfos. The second Tosfos asks an unbelievable question. You're not allowed to eat, we said, we're going to pass like with the Baskan, so Sukkah means from 3 o'clock. Not allowed to eat from 3 o'clock. Not allowed to eat from 3 o'clock. Why? Mincha means mincha ketana. Says Tosfos, what in the world would you be able to eat if you were allowed to eat? Chametz, you can't eat. Why can't you eat chametz? From midday you can't eat chametz b'natera. Matz, what? Yes, you can't eat. Matzah, why can't you eat matzah? Anybody know? Famous Yerushalmi, why can't you eat matzah? You don't eat matzah from chatzos on the Pesach onwards. Some people are minhag even earlier, some people are a month, some people... I don't have the minhag from a month. My grandfather used to eat matzah on the day before Pesach. Okay, nice. You're not allowed to eat from chatzos from Erev Pesach. Why not allowed to? A very harsh language. It's a like. Seriously? I actually know, but you should know there are people who have nitikavil pigs and minhag not to eat matzah all year round. Oh, I can see at this rate we need extra time. Rabbi, let's get it clear. Says Tosfos, what are you going to eat? Chametz not allowed to eat from chatzos. Matzah not allowed to eat anyway because it's a Pesach Kippur or Sosbes. Chametz is like a person takes his wife a few minutes before the chuppah and does tashmish with her. How would you do with the chutzpah? Wait a few more minutes. Matzah, you've got matzah tonight. You're going to eat matzah now. So says Tosfos, tell you what you won't be able to allowed to eat. You're not allowed to eat fish and apples. So says that's not true because we paskin you are allowed to eat fish. It's only Mazonis not allowed to eat. So which Mazonis would you anyway be allowed to eat? Do you hear the question? What's the answer?
What did you do this year?
Oh, Matzah Shiur. Knedelach. Says Tosis that Rabbi Tam used to eat Knedelach every Pesach till Shas, till Shas.
If there's one thing that fills you up, it's Knedel.
Oh.
I mean, that's not like they just go.
Matzah Shiur. Matzah Shiur. What's wrong with why allowed to Matzah Shiur? What's the chesh? Because since you can't be Yotz and it's on Matzah, it's not a problem. Again, the Ikar Loch of the Mishnah is you're not allowed to eat before Pesach because we want you to eat with an appetite. So again, Tosa we hear the third. This we did already. The first Tosas Arve, where it's plural. The second Tosas. If you look at the last 4 lines of the second Tosas, Shleima the Ayiv Matzah Shiur the Yosab Yerushalmi Elo Matzah V'Uyo Lotzis Boy Chavose V'Ichlu Kedos Mana Matzah Shiur Shayim V'Chein Oinoyeg Binu Tam. He would eat Matzah Shiur on Erev Pesach. Now Tosas says another thing. 2 more things actually. The next is ask an unbelievable question. So I have to tell you. You're not allowed to eat Erev Pesach. Why not allowed to eat Erev Pesach? To have an appetite, not to be stuffed, etc. Comes Yom Tov of Pesach, and it's Erev, it's now the night, and you're hungry, you want to eat matzah, you want to eat matzah shiur, let's say, or you want to eat matzah which is not prepared for the Seder, it's not matzah shmur, let's say. Are you allowed to eat or not?
No.
So it's tastes you're allowed to. You're allowed to eat as much as you want.
From when that comes in.
Because it says, you're not allowed to eat as dark. Once it's dark, you can eat whatever you want. So it tastes like this. I starve myself all afternoon, so I should eat matzah with appetite. Comes the nacht, and I'm allowed to eat whatever I want. I can eat a pile of potatoes, I can eat matzah, shiur. What's Knedelach? It's a Shabbat. Says Tosas why? Says Tosas a very interesting logic. In the afternoon, listen to Tosas logic. In the afternoon, when you eat, you think to yourself, it's a long time for tonight. So you eat a very, very lot, and it comes to night, you won't have an appetite, and you won't eat an appetite. Once it's nacht, you know you're going to eat matzah soon. So we don't need Chazal to tell us don't eat, because automatically you won't eat. And therefore Chazal permitted it, and you're allowed to eat as much as you want. So Chazal only saw fit to make a gzeir on Erev Pesach in the afternoon, but once it's actually the night of Pesach, you're allowed to eat as much as you want. And that is because it's a bit of a more complicated topic, it's drinking wine. We will see this later, that drinking wine, you're allowed to drink wine. Why allowed to drink wine? Because wine gives you an appetite. Wine gives you an appetite. So you're allowed to drink as much wine as you want, because it makes you have more. So there's a kasha, which stage of the day would I drink wine? Maybe we'll leave it for the more discuss it. But then it says, that's the third thesis about the night. The thesis says, if you look at it 6 lines down, the third thesis, a person that meal will be careful. Sometimes this is a very interesting thing as well. Sometimes when you're eating, you're still hungry. And that's one of the reasons you see you have a diet where you should do is eat slowly or wait 20 minutes to eat some more. Why? Because it takes time for the stomach to tell you that you're full. So if you eat in the afternoon, you think you're hungry. An hour later, you could be fuller than you are when you're eating. So therefore, come to the night, you won't eat matzah. Mashenkim, once it's already nacht, so you start eating. You're not eating matzah, but when you start, it doesn't matter. The rest of this talks about wine, we'll have to leave it. It's because quite complicated. It's not soon again nowadays, because people don't drink that. The Afghan is, are you allowed to drink wine during Magid? Some people like to sip wine during Magid. Somebody told me that he drinks tea during Magid. He finds it clears his throat. Okay. He has coffee during Magid. Yes, it's interesting. From this taste, it's mashma, it's okay. No, not eat, but drink coffee or tea. That's for the children, but does he himself? Okay. And then Tosas tells us an unbelievable chiddush. Acha techshach only till dark. What do you mean till dark? What do you mean till dark? Of course. What do you mean till dark? Just say till the night of Pesach. Tosas says over here very big chiddush. Tosas says, and he says another Gemara we'll see doesn't talk about it, that all Shabbos is allowed to bring in Shabbos early, except Pesach. You can't bring in Shabbos early. You can't bring in Yom Tov early. So Ad Shetechshach, you have to wait till the night. The reason is many reasons. Well, one of the reasons is because Kiddush is one of the 4 kaisos in the midst of the night. If you can't bring in Pesach early, you also can't. Shavuos is because of Tmimos. Yes.
clock's been forward.
Oh, so therefore you can't bring in, and that's why Mishnah's very meduyek says Tosfos. It doesn't say actually Kabbalah of Pesach or actually Yochal Matzah. Listen to the words of Tosfos. You're not hearing the words of Tosfos. You'll be so disappointed. You'll come to say to that. You'll be quickly looking at this Tosfos to remember the halachas, and you remember Tosfos says Mishnah doesn't say Yochal Adam actually Kabbalah of Pesach or actually Yochal Matzah. Actually Techshach, because the mitzvah of Matzah you have to wait until Nacht. You can't eat it early. Tosfos says, the third like that. And he says, Pesach Matzah Mo, you can't eat. But you can begin Shabbos. Shabbos. Many people begin in Shabbos. Oh, okay.
Why couldn't he eat meat then?
When?
Why didn't it, if they're eating matzah,
yeah.
the shech is over.
Why?
You can still have a suda without having.
Because it doesn't satisfy the same. Apples and oranges and meat doesn't satisfy you. Not the same. That's why everybody's hungry right for Pesach. Says the Mishnah weiter. Even a poor man shouldn't eat until he does misubin. Now here Tosfos says a few different interesting things. One thing Tosfos says is that he has two ways of understanding this Mishnah in the words afilu oni Yisroel. You know the big question where to put the comma. Because actually what was came over the teacher had sent them a nice sentence, but without any commas made no sense. And then when you put in the commas, it makes a completely different meaning. What?
It's time to eat, Grandma.
Oh, very good.
It's time to eat, Grandma, or it's time to eat.
Oh, very good. It's time to eat, Grandma. It's time to eat, Grandma. So this is mamish this Tosfos. You could have written Tosfos. Tosfos says like this. I feel only should be Yisroel. Says Tosfos there are two different ways and they're completely different halachas. Let's look at Tosfos. Let's look at the Mishnah. Even a poor person should eat till Nacht. Why? Poor people never get what to eat. Starving, hungry. So therefore you might have thought, since they're starving anyway, let them eat at Pesach, because what's worse comes to us, they eat a bit, they'll still be hungry for matzah, because they never get a chance to eat, they're starving. Somebody who's starving, so let them eat at Pesach, they'll still eat. That's what it says Mishnah. No. Full stop. Then the Mishnah says, but nobody should eat until you do misubit. That's one way of reading Mishnah. And the chiddush of the Mishnah thereby is what? That even a poor man who's starving is not allowed to eat in the afternoon, even if he's a starving man. Another pshat says to us like this: full stop. The whole idea of misubin is what? Why do you do misubin? To show shirus, chilus. A poor man is never, he's got a coat which is torn, a shirt which is torn, and you get to tell him to do misubin, maybe he doesn't have to. Says the Mishnah, no. Two different pshatim in our Mishnah. It's amazing how you can change the words. Oh. Says the Mishnah right. No less than 4 cups of wine. Why 4 cups of wine? Every child comes home from school with this. First is good. Where did they get it from? The Rashbam on this Mishnah. Who got it from a Yerushalmi on this Mishnah. Yerushalmi says the full assurance of Geulot. Rashbam, let's see the Rashbam. Motzinu v'Beis Rabbi. He brings it from a Beis Rabbi. Takes it from Yerushalmi. Avonu shemamnu kedeged arba l'sheni Geula amon golos b'tzayim. V'golos b'tzayim v'yitzesi v'goalti v'lokachti v'yitzarti pashas v'evo. It's the Rashbam, the second to last Rashbam. So everybody has to have 4 cups of wine. See, Moshe, they don't disturb. Sorry, went off. Right. Unmute. Am I muted? Ian, am I muted? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Again, Tamchui was for the poorest of the poor, people that literally had no food. Kupa was only given out once a week, and it was money, which was already more mechubadik tzedakah. So even somebody who's so poor that he can't afford breakfast and then supper, even he has to have 4 cups of wine. And here Tosfos goes to town. The third to bottom Tosfos, that Tosfos medag one word. Lo yifchesu loy. Loy is lashon yochid lashon rabim. Yochid.
Everyone gets, not just the end of the household.
Says Tosfos, not true. Says Tosfos, how can Moshe dare say that you have to have 4 cups of wine for every child? I've got a Mishnah in Pesachim that tells me otherwise. Lo yifchesu loy tehim ma'bakosas. To tell your children are very sorry to tell you no wine for you. Tosfos is the dyke. And in fact, Tosfos leaves off that it's a nice thing to have 4 cups of wine. But look at the last line of Tosfos, it's the third to bottom Tosfos. Tosfos says they should be machmir that every child should have 4 cups of wine. Tosfos is a chumrah. Tosfos is madayek for the Mishnah. Lo is lashon yochid, not after. But again, the Ran says, who told Tosfos we're talking about somebody that's got children or a wife? Most people do have a wife and children. I would say it does happen. Okay. So Tosfos argues back and forth. There's other proofs to it, but Beis says machlokes is showing him. Do you have to? I have to tell you, Mr. Bor writes a very harsh lashon, and every year I shake it when I read this lashon. Mr. Bor says there are some people. I've actually seen this behavior, and I'm surprised that they're not aware. Mr. Bor says there are some people that don't let the children drink 4 cups of wine because it's expensive. Says the Mishnah Bor, terrible things about such a person. Don't kag. Don't cast the you got to let your servants, he says, that these kadosh days to have people, your cleaners will be like Yiddish, your soimim, let them enjoy the 4 cups of wine and don't cut down on them, even though it's expensive. What? It doesn't say it's about porn. Okay, so we learned a lot of halachas in this Mishnah, and we learned that you're not allowed to eat before things, and I feel onish v'sol, you have to do a surin and not less than 4 cups of wine, even if you're very full. The whole Gemara now discusses one simple question. From our Mishnah, it's meduyuk that what? You're not allowed to eat on Erev Pesach. Are you allowed to eat on Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov? Yes. The whole problem is Erev Pesach. The problem is that it's not true. Says the Gemara, every single Erev Shabbos and Yom Tov, the Tanya, lo yuchel od b'av Shabbos Yom Tovim nam nechol amalo, kadeshi. Come to Shabbos kashu toiv. Rabbi Yehuda says, don't come. Every Shabbos you should come into Shabbos with appetite. Don't eat on Erev Shabbos. In fact, the Gemara Bava Basra also tells us that people that make a big meal on Erev Shabbos lose their money. That's what Gemara Bava Basra says. Very fighting the Gemara. That the reason why we see sometimes wealthy people become poor is because they make a big meal on Erev Shabbos. So the Gemara says you're not allowed to. So the Mishnah, so again, how can the Mishnah say only Erev Pesach? This halacha is true every single Shabbos and Yom Tov. So what has got to do with it? We're not discussing matzah more. We're discussing the halacha of not eating on Erev Pesach afternoon. For the matzah. And Rabbi Yehuda says you should do it every day of the week, every Shabbos, in order to have an appetite for Friday night meal. Oh, Tis asks your kasha. I'll get to this other Tis. I thought I've done enough Tis, but Tis asks kasha. Look at the second to bottom Tis. The Tana Pesach guy. We're talking about Hilchas Pesach. Erev Shabbos happens every week. It happens all the time. Inami miti could be medayik from the Mishnah incorrectly because it says Erev Pesach samuch lemincha. It's mashma. It's a din in Aviv Pesachim. So therefore, that's why. That means when it's confusing language or because it's very common, you can't answer that just because we're talking about Erev Pesach. Again. What?
You're not going to make a mistake because we have it.
But you might not know the Beis is not so well known. Okay. From the Mishnah, you make a mistake. So the Gemara says the machlokes of Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Let's memorize this machlokes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to eat every Erev Shabbos and Yom Tov. According to Rabbi Yossi. By the way, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, who do pass back? We once had it in Eruvin. Rabbi Yossi, very good. So who do pass? What does Rabbi Yossi say? You can't. That means the reason our Mishnah said Pesach because Shittas Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi holds every Shabbos and Yom Tov allowed to. It's very interesting that if you look in the Rashbam, I don't know if you've got the engine Kufam Dalef, he likes to say like this: Kaimon Nami Alochik Rabbi Yossi. He brings the Gemara name with Taka. Rabbi Yossi Afilaschil. It says the Rashbam, nevertheless, one shouldn't sit down. Actually, Rashbam doesn't say as much. I think that's how the Ran says more. That even though we pass like Rabbi Yossi, you're allowed to have a meal on Erev Shabbos and Yom Tov. One should not make an unusually big meal. You shouldn't have a meal which you don't normally have on Friday afternoon, like an unusually big meal. So the chiddush of our mishnahs, even according to Rabbi Yossi, that you're allowed to eat meal of Shabbos Yom Tov, you're not allowed to eat on Erev Pesach. Says the Gemara, Papa, Ma'afilu Tim Rabbi Yehuda. Our mishnahs in the chiddush going to Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Hasan ba'avi Shabbos Yom Tov, minah mincha u'lamalo da'aseh. From mincha, which is the 9.5 hours, which we said is 3:30, is also sabuch le mincha behalf of that before showing. Aber Pesach afilu sabuch mincha dami also. The chiddush is that on Erev Pesach you're not allowed to even half an hour before. So the chiddush of our mishnah is the extra half an hour. Erev Pesach was sabuch le mincha. Normally it's only from mincha onwards. Our mishnah is saying sabuch le mincha. Says the Gemara, Ube'erev Shabbos sabuch le mincha shoi. Are you going to tell me that at normal times? Well, I just point out one thing. Maybe it's obvious. In that Beis, if you look very carefully, it says min hamincha ulamala. It didn't say samuch lemincha. It said min hamincha ulamala. Mincha means 3:30. Right? We're talking about a day which is 6 till 6. We mean from 9.5 hours. Shows manius will obviously change the time considerably. But the point is that the Beis says clearly, mina mincha, didn't say samuch mincha. So the Papa is very correct in saying that our Mishnah is talking about something which the Beis doesn't talk about. Our Mishnah talks about samuch mincha, and the Beis talks about mincha. Says the Gemara, it's not true because we have another Beis that says samuch mincha. Says the Gemara, be'erev Shabbos samuch mincha shoy v'tan yochel adam be'erev Shabbos yom tovim Mitesha shois olamalo from 9 hours, which is samuch mincha. So you see again that the Beis says clearly, just like our Mishnah, that you're not allowed to eat from the 9th hour. So therefore, we're back to square one. The Papa said the chiddush of our Mishnah is to add an extra half an hour on Pesach over all other days. Says the Gemara, that answer doesn't hold water. Why not? Because we have another Beis that says that every Erev Shabbos you're not allowed to eat from the 9th hour. Who told us that Beis is a good one? It's correct. Maybe that Beis we just quoted is a mixed up Beis, so maybe it's incorrect. Maybe it's a corrupt Beis. Corrupted version. Says the Rashba and others, why would you even consider it's corrupt? You can't every time you say Beis say, well, maybe it's corrupt. If that's the case, because every Beis, anybody said you should jump up with the answer. Because there's a Beis. There was a Beis earlier that said mincha, didn't say samuch mincha. Is a raya that Beis is probably corrupt, and therefore the only say the whole shine is only from 9.5, not from 9. Yeah, but since you've got to answer, you've got a reason to assume it's corrupt because it's two. Says well, no. I the Yema said, I know I went to the Medrash to hear a Shiur from the son of Rami. The Tana, the Tani Kameh, and somebody quoted this Beis. The Kibla Minei, and he accepted the Beis. He didn't stop him and say, hey, he's corrupted. Yachi Kasha, so got Kasha, and Bechavelto Kedrav Bono. I'm going to have to stop here. I don't know a solution unless we carry on. I don't know what we should do. What? Or should we do a bit more? I'm happy. I like democracy. I'm big chassid of democracy. What? Oh, they've got Sim. But I think we should go a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? Okay, so for the next 2 days, start at 8:05. But what happens then we get to. I should do more halachas, but it's not general halachas. The basic halachas I went through the two. I mean, wait a second. I'm just trying to think. I've not got clear voice being told. Okay, we're stopping here anyway for today. We'll reassess tomorrow because they're having a lechaim.
This year.
Wait, so let's just finish off. Tomorrow, what time is the shiur? What time? Let's do a vote. I prefer normal time. I finish. Worst is finish early, but I don't stay for Maariv. Do you stay for Maariv time? Does it bother you? So we just stick to normal time.
Where's Mincha Maariv starting, by the way?
And we're starting normal time. I am going a bit further because we're going to finish a daf ahead, 1 day ahead.
Why don't we round off?
Okay, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Let's do 8 o'clock then. 8 o'clock makes sense. By 8 o'clock, and I might go a little bit ahead. Okay, Ian and Yehuda.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe because I'm on Shabbos.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see how the way it goes. Let's start 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow's daf is very, very short. I'm telling you, tomorrow's daf is very, very short. I have to tell you. I know. Okay. L'chaim, slichas. Right.
Sure, again.
Right.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.